I want to show you what I'm wearing today. This is a linen dress, and this design were reproduced from an original watercolor painting by one of my students. Her name is Maria, and she lives in a tiny village in southern Sweden. She sent me this dress as a thank you gift. I absolutely love it, and people ask me about the design on it all of the time. So lean in, because this is the story of a watercolor artist who used one new skill to turn a single thistle painting into pillows, tea towels, tote bags, and a brand new line of linen dresses. Today, I want to tell you her story because before she could ever put her watercolor work on fabric, on a dress, or on anything else, she had to learn a new skill. She had to learn a process, a set of steps that she didn't even know existed. If you're a watercolor artist and you've ever wondered whether learning about repeating patterns is for you, Maria's story might just be the answer. Welcome to the Creative Business Spark podcast. I'm LaFollette, creative entrepreneur, online educator, and business coach. After getting laid off in my late 50s, I found myself adrift with no income and no sense of self. But my mom always said, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So I decided to reinvent myself and build an online creative business from scratch. Now I help women like you do the same. This podcast is where art, mindset, and entrepreneurship meet. I'll share behind-the-scenes lessons, inspiring stories, mindset shifts, and more. Let this be the spark you need to build or grow a creative business with joy and purpose. Let's dive in, because it's never too late to create. Picture this, a tiny village in the south of Sweden. I'm not talking about a quiet little suburb. I'm talking about a tiny village of 40 people. That's it, just 40 people, including a very talented watercolor artist named Maria Alzanier. Maria has been a watercolor artist for years. And when I say that she has a style, I mean she really has a very particular watercolor style. It's big, it's expressive, loose paintings made with an oversized brush. And I'm wearing an example of her work. The philosophy that she lives by is let the water flow, because watercolor is all about water and how you add water to the paint colors that you're using. From her studio in Berg, Sweden, Maria had built a beautiful creative business. She sold original paintings, she sold art prints. She also taught in-person watercolor classes to students who come and sit around her studio table. And she'd actually built a very nice business, but then 2020 happened. And we all remember that COVID shut everything down. So we all needed to actually either learn new skills or learn how to pivot our business, especially if we were in the creative space, because we didn't have any alternatives. At the time, I was running an ad for my From Doodles to Dollars coaching week. And here's the thing. Maria wasn't sure it was for her. It popped up on her Facebook feed, but she's an established watercolor artist. She has a loyal customer base. She's got years of experience. She didn't think of herself as a doodler. And I think that many people who might see the ad, because I'm running it right now, might also think the same thing. Well, I'm not a doodler, so this class couldn't possibly be for me. So let me tell you what she was wondering. She was wondering, is this program actually going to teach me any skills I might use? She decided to enroll because she said, why not? It's just $10. And what happened next changed everything. So if you're a watercolor artist and you've ever wondered whether creating repeating patterns might be beneficial for you, let me share 3 things that might help you decide. Reality number 1 is that the steps are the thing. Before she was able to bring her thistle painting into Illustrator, she needed to start at the beginning with something very simple. In the From Doodles to Dollars coaching week, we don't start with something super complex. We start with 1 to 3 simple doodles drawn in a black pen. Maybe it's a leaf, a little flower, an organic shape, something that anyone can draw. And the reason that we do that isn't because you can't create something much, much more beautiful or complex. It's because what you're actually learning is the steps. And there are a lot of them, the specific sequence of actions inside Adobe Illustrator that make a repeating pattern actually work. Why do you have to do things in a certain order? What happens if you skip a step? How does the tile connect so the repeat is seamless from side to side and top to bottom? These are questions that trip up even experienced artists. So it's about understanding the process and learning it from beginning to end using something very simple. Because as I like to say, let's start simple because you can always get fancy later. And Maria got that. She focused on learning the steps. She started really simple. And once those steps were locked in, once she understood how the whole process worked and she knew she could duplicate it, then she went back to her watercolor paintings and applied everything that she had learned. She went back to her thistle painting, which was on the wall of her studio, and the one that she'd painted before she ever found me. And she was able to build it into a repeat. And one of the beautiful things about this process is she added these butterflies. These butterflies were not in her original painting. And if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm pointing to them on my dress. But if you're listening to the podcast, just imagine them in your mind. She also added a beautiful background texture. These additional details were not in her original painting, so she could actually even bring this print alive in a new and unique way. And the result is absolutely gorgeous, and it still highlights the beauty of watercolor work. Here's a quote that she shared with me. "To be able to put my paintings on fabric is just such a great feeling. I just love it, and I can make the design so big. I could never do that before." Listen to that. Did you hear that? She said, "I could never do that before." Before learning how to create a repeat, a painting was a painting, one beautiful, original piece of art that could only be in one place. Once she had the steps, she could scale that same painting to any size, print it on any surface, and repeat it across an entire bolt of fabric if she wanted to. Her style didn't change, but her reach certainly did. Reality number 2 is that one painting can become an entire product line. Once Maria had the steps down, she went back to her work and she started asking a question that really changed everything. What else could this painting become? How about a pillow, a tea towel, a tote bag, and even a brand new line of linen dresses? This is the part of surface pattern design that doesn't get talked about enough. The product expansion that becomes possible once your art is in a repeat. Because once a design is digital and scalable, it's not limited by just what you created with your hands, or just by the amount of work that you put into one piece, or just by only being able to make copies of it at your local printer. Maria orders fabric printed with her own designs, and those fabrics turn into linen dresses and all of those other products that I mentioned. So instead of just having a single painting on her studio wall, she now has products with that same design in many people's houses, in their kitchen, and worn as dresses, including me. I want you to think about your own work for just a moment. What's your most loved painting? Or you have a distinctive style, so what do people always comment on or always ask about or would like more of? So you can now ask yourself, what could this make possible for me? Before I tell you the third part of Maria's story, which honestly might be my favorite part, I want to make sure that you know about my From Doodles to Dollars coaching week. It's coming up very soon, and it's the exact program that Maria took. Now, it only costs $10. $10. That's the early bird price, but the early bird price goes away on April 5th. After that, the price more than triples to $37. Now, frankly, $37 is still a bargain, but don't miss the early bird price because you can get it right now for just $10. And if Maria's story is resonating with you, that is your sign. So go to members.artwithann.com/doodles. It's on my screen right now, or if you're listening to the audio podcast, it's in the show notes, or you can type this into your browser right now, members.artwithann.com/doodles. Claim your space right now so that you can grab the early bird price of just $10. Okay, back to Maria. So reality number 3 is that expanding your skills in this way opens doors that you did not know existed. Here's the part of Maria's story that I want to end on because I think it's the most exciting. Learning to create repeating patterns didn't pull Maria away from her watercolor work. That is still her passion, but it amplified it. When she expanded her product line, when she had linen dresses and tote bags and tea towels and many other products that she could put her repeating patterns onto, something shifted in how the world saw her. She wasn't just a watercolor artist selling originals or prints. She was a creative with a full body of work that could fill a booth, that could tell a story, that could sell at multiple price points. And invitations started to roll in. Art fairs across Sweden, big events that she hadn't been able to participate in before, they started reaching out to her. Her expanded product line gave her the range and the inventory to say yes in a way that she simply couldn't when she only had originals to offer. She still sells her original at these fairs, but she has many, many other ways that people can take her art home with them. Maria was also invited to paint a portion of the King of Sweden's outdoor glass flower house, a royal commission, because her watercolor work is still her passion, and it's the foundation of everything that she creates. Learning how to use Adobe Illustrator to create repeating patterns didn't replace her passion. It created a new platform for it. That's what learning one new skill can quietly do, not just for what you make, but for who gets to discover you. So I want to come back to the question that I started with. If you're a watercolor artist and you're wondering whether learning about how to create repeating patterns inside Illustrator is for someone like you, I want you to hear this clearly. Maria's answer was yes, and I think it is for you too. You don't have to change your style or your medium or what makes your art your own. You just need to step back for a second and learn this new skill, the process inside Illustrator that lets what you've already created come to life in new ways, on new products, and get sold in new places. And that's what we do in the From Doodles to Dollars coaching week. We start really, really simple because once you know the fundamentals, the sky is the limit. As I said, we start simple with 1 to 3 doodles, black pen, no pressure, and I walk you through every step of creating your first repeating pattern in Adobe Illustrator. No experience needed, no design background required, but if you have those, please come in with an open mind and with a beginner's mindset. And once you have learned the steps, you can apply them to anything, including your watercolor work, just like Maria did. The early bird price is just $10, but that price changes to $37 on April 5th. So depending on when you're listening to this, I hope you can still get in at the $10 price. If something in Maria's story spoke to you today, now is the moment to say yes. Go to members.artwithann.com/doodles. You can find that link in the show notes, or you can see it on screen, members.artwithann.com/doodles, and claim your spot at the early bird price right now. Maria almost talked herself out of it, but she didn't, and today she ships linen dresses to customers around the world from a tiny village of only 40 people in southern Sweden. Your paintings are already beautiful. Imagine what else they could become. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And if you know a watercolor artist, a friend, a sister, someone in your quilting group, or maybe your art class, who has ever wondered whether learning how to create repeating patterns could work for their style of art, please share this episode with them. It might be exactly what they needed to hear. Until next time, keep creating, keep growing, and be open to learning new things. I always like to say in closing that I am Anne LaFollette. And remember, it's never too late to create. That's it for today, and I'll see you again next week.